Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Brett Jones with me here today. Brett is a co-founder and I don't know exactly. So it's with Josh and with Jim. You guys all sort of co-founded, if I'm getting it right, or at New Vision Auto Glass. Welcome to the show, Brett.
Yeah, correct. Thank you very much. Yeah, my official title at the company is Executive Vice President.
Okay.
But Jim is our CEO and Josh is our co-executive vice president. But yes, we did found the company together approximately 7 years ago. So we've been in the thick of things for that amount of time together.
Okay. And although it was founded in Arizona, it is now, global, I guess, right? Tell us a little bit about the background of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did start in Arizona. That's where me, Josh and Jim, that's where we met. And we started New Vision Auto Glass. And then it was about 3 years ago, we broke into the Florida market. And then more recently, we've actually gotten into South Carolina as well. So we're in 3 states. Those are the states that we actually provide the services. And then we do have a global workforce. We have an IT team in India. We have back office support in the Philippines and also in Barranquilla, Colombia. And we do have tons of employees in the US as well. So,
okay, excellent. So give for our viewers or listeners who don't know, Arizona has a lot of rocks, and so that's kind of a bigger industry here. Is that the same? Is it similar in North Carolina or Florida, or do you do more volume here per person?
Yeah, Arizona was a great state to get us started because it's kind of a running joke, like the whole city is on a big bed of rocks, right?
Right.
So especially when it rains, which happens semi-frequently, you get the wash of the rocks onto the roads and those get kicked up and break a lot of glass. But in Florida, it's more just the marketplace in general with all the construction and expanding that they're doing there. So, same with construction, when people are breaking up the roads and paving and all that stuff, you get a lot of rock debris on the roads as well. Pretty much same with South Carolina. There's some pretty sufficient damage, wherever you look, but Arizona is definitely one of the hottest marketplaces in the country, just due to sheer volume of rocks and people in that area.
Do most insurance policies cover windshields by default in other states, or is this because that's kind of common here in Arizona?
Yeah, yes, for sure. So in Arizona, there's there's like a glass coverage that you can add to your insurance policy. And then in Florida, if you have comprehensive coverage on your vehicle, it's just automatically included with that. Okay. And South Carolina is similar. So like in Arizona, it's an add-on option. And then in other states, it's just kind of baked into your premium depending on what coverage you have.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so what was the connection to Florida, and how did you guys how have you been growing?
Yeah, great question. So we started off in Arizona, and my background was actually in digital marketing. So running Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, all that kind of fun stuff. And when we started, as I alluded to earlier, it was 7 years ago. So at that time, like Meta ads and all that was just kind of, it was gaining a lot of popularity, but it wasn't anywhere close to where it is today. Now those platforms are pretty crowded. A lot of our competition has entered into those platforms. So we primarily started off, online advertising in Arizona. And then we've actually made partnerships in Florida. It was just, we had an introduction into a large sales team there that had already been selling in that really all over the state of Florida. So we partnered with them, and we basically started doing fulfillment for them, for their customers that they were selling the services to. And then we basically layered in our digital marketing in Florida. And we basically did the same thing in South Carolina too. So we have a sales force there that's out selling for us, and then we also do the digital ads. And then in Arizona, it's still primarily digital. So that's how our customers come in. But, as of recently, as far as our plans for expansion, we have made some partnerships with local dealerships. So,
Okay.
a lot of their customers are looking for a good auto glass company to do their work. And so, through those three channels, dealerships being the newest one, that's how we've been able to grow and scale the business. But, we basically plan on keeping a very similar model between digital, a sales force, and also the dealership model to just continue to expand in the states that we're currently in, but also in new markets as well that we plan on opening up probably Q3, Q4 of this year.
Okay. Okay. We can talk a little bit more about expansion plans in a little bit. First, I'm curious about, you mentioned affiliations like with dealerships and stuff. Do you have any, well, just I've seen some insurance companies bring glass in-house. Is that an option for you guys, or is that do you have any affiliations with particular insurance programs?
No, we don't. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like a lot of customers that need windshield replacement services or just auto glass in general, what they'll do is they'll call their insurance company directly, and then that insurance company, they'll basically refer them to one of their shops that they have like in their network. So for us, we just acquire our own customers, and we've built up a very outstanding reputation for taking care of our customers. So when people basically are looking for a service provider in another way instead of going directly to their insurance company, we're all over the internet. People see our advertisements, our reviews, and so we generate a lot of business like that. But yeah, as far as being in network shop, we just haven't, we haven't really needed to go down that route.
Okay. I was just wondering if that might be not just a good affiliate, but also maybe an exit plan someday to go big enough where an insurance company may want to acquire you or something like that to bring that in-house because they can just reduce costs a little bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is a popular model. I just think that, our marketing strategies are so strong that we just kind of like doing our own thing. However, we have definitely taken a look more recently for sure in partnering up with some of the insurance companies. So that could
Okay.
be that could be a play in the near future.
Okay. Okay, cool. So going back to marketing then, I've seen all sorts of deals over the years, right? Free steak dinner with a free windshield repair and also, right, those promos.
Yeah.
Even sometimes just cash, right? For getting your, so can you speak to where the market's at, what the rules are in that space, and what your marketing strategies are currently?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a really great partner in Arizona, Rodizio Grill. They've just really been like I said, a great partner for us. So, we have it's definitely mutually beneficial because we can add more value to our customers. And then, naturally when people go into Rodizio, a lot of them are going in there for the first time, so they get to experience a great,
Sure.
steak dinner. Have you been to Rodizio's
I-
before?
I've been to Brazilian steakhouses before, but I've not been to Rodizio's. There's a few of them in the valley, right?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure how many locations they have now in Phoenix, because it's been a little time since I've actually communicated with them and been back. I'm living out of the country at the moment. But yeah, I mean it's a really great experience. I mean they have like just a ton of great food. They bring around the meat, cut it for you at your table, and it's all you can eat. And so we
With
have
the teenage son, I've been talking to him about it.
Oh, I'm sure he could really get his money's worth there.
Right.
Yeah, I know teenagers eat so much. So, between the partnership with Rodizio, and then also we do offer cashback incentives in Arizona. It's just kind of a way to balance out the marketplace by adding incentives, like how we were talking about those customers that get referred to an auto glass shop directly by the insurance companies.
Mhm.
This is just kind of a way to level the playing field, so that way there's not all the traffic being directed there. It kind of gives us a bit of I would say a bit of a competitive advantage. But really, that's just in Arizona. So like if you are an Arizona resident and you do provide our services, when you call into our company, our representatives will let you know based on, your vehicle type, whether you need a calibration and all that. If you do qualify for a rebate and how much that rebate would be. So it does fluctuate because obviously, the cost of the glass, the insurance payment, like all that's a factor in there. But then in Florida, they've actually done away with any kind of incentives there. So when we first started in that market, we were allowed to provide incentives. And recently that changed it was close to a little over a year and a half ago. They passed some new legislation there that prohibits, any glass shops from giving any kind of rebate. So no tint strips, no cash, nothing of value can be exchanged for the service. So, we definitely had to pivot some of our strategies there with how we acquired customers, but fortunately we were able to make those adjustments. And it turned out to be a big opportunity for us because when the legislation changed in Florida, a lot of auto glass shops, they just decided to close up shop. So it really opened up a lot of market, potential for us. And then in South Carolina, it's basically the same. Like we don't do any rebates there. I'm not totally sure of the legality, but it's just something that we don't do. So that's really special for Arizona.
Sure, I do know there's rules, and in fact, I believe the insurance company rules are that they can't. They have to give you a menu of providers to choose from. I believe is that the case in most states?
Yeah, as far as I know, I mean, they're supposed to, like, in the industry we call it steering. So like, an insurance company is not allowed to steer you to use a shop. It's a battle that all insurance companies face because, obviously, I mean, the insurance companies, I'm not saying that they don't abide by that, but it's kind of a little bit of a gray area. But yeah, I mean, it is how it is though. Like they are absolutely supposed to provide multiple options. Yeah.
Okay. So there are a lot of different size operators in this space. What sort of sets New Vision apart?
Yeah, really, I think when we started the business, obviously we started small. We started with very little startup capital, so we were a completely bootstrap shop. And I think like our leverage of social media back in the heyday, when it was kind of like wide open, especially for auto glass shops. I think we were probably one of the first to enter the digital marketing space as far as social media is concerned. So that really boosted us right in the beginning to grow to one of the larger shops in Arizona just within the first couple of years in business. And I think there's a lot of mom and pop shops where, like, for example, the wife will be the one taking the claims and interfacing with the customers, and then the husband's out there, the one to stick and install the glass. And we always had the mindset that we wanted to set up, we just basically wanted to set up processes, systems, and people that would scale. And so, ultimately, I really think that's been one of the differentiators is us being able to, be one of the first to use social media, but then also we use a lot of technology to keep, for our customer base. We've always really been on the forefront of using technology. And I think a lot of the other glass shops have been really slow to adopt as the world's evolved and technology.
Well, they're busy usually answering phones and installing windshields.
Yeah, exactly. So, by hiring key people in our organization, it's really like freed us up to be able to look at the business from a higher level, and be able to, just kind of navigate and leverage what's available to us, and we've been able to grow to one of the bigger shops in the US, I would say. I don't have the exact numbers on, competing businesses, but I know we're up there now.
Okay, excellent. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So what are some of the bigger goals for your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as every 6 months, every year, it just seems like the technology on cars is evolving. And specifically, what I mean is the ADAS equipment, so the advanced driver assistance systems.
Right. The
You know,
calibrations, all the technical stuff.
yeah, I mean it's really great, right? Because I mean it keeps everyone so much safer on the roads when they're driving. I mean, I haven't seen any statistics, but common sense tells me that the amount of accidents on the road has probably decreased dramatically since the introduction of these safety systems on cars. Because you got, obviously you got cars that are like auto braking when they're detecting something in front of you. They're giving you warnings when you got people to the left or right or behind you, so people are just a lot more aware, despite the fact that, drivers today are more distracted than they've ever been,
Right.
especially on their phones. So I think that, this has all evolved at a really great time, with the I don't know, I would say the alarming rate of distracted drivers on the road. That technology has kind of kept up with that and hopefully done more than just counterbalance it. It's actually made a positive impact. So, that's one of our initiatives is just to stay on the cutting edge with all the advanced driver assistance systems. As those evolve, we evolve. We purchase the new equipment that's needed. We have some great partnerships in that industry, so we're able to really stay on top of the ball with that. But above and beyond just being true experts in calibrations and that evolving field, we really, as I was alluding to earlier, we really plan on continuing to grow with the current model that we have and getting into new marketplaces. I think that we got a great team, we got a great systems in place, and I think we can just kind of keep running with that and just keep scaling it in the current markets that we're in and in new marketplaces as well.
Okay. Are often, well, not often. Sometimes I've had glass replaced by places that can't calibrate, and you have to go back to the dealership to get the system working again. Is that a barrier for auto glass companies moving forward? Those challenges come up? Is that one of your secret sauces?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not all glass shops calibrate, that's for sure. I think more glass shops are kind of coming around to that and realizing that to compete, they really do need to offer those services because a lot of our customers, another thing that separates us, for example, is that the huge majority of the time, we're actually able to replace the windshield and then calibrate the car all in one stop. So, yeah, I know it's awesome, man. People love it, and in this day and age, I mean, you know how it is. People want stuff done, and they want it done
Right.
now. I mean, everyone's the same way. It's because we got Uber rides on demand. We got all these delivery services that are coming really fast. So, people value their time, obviously, and to be able to save them that time, because even a lot of our competitors, I mean, they'll still come out, replace the windshield, and then they'll schedule a calibrator to come back a totally separate day. So now that
Right.
customer, they have they have the almost kind of like burden of having to like wait around for another day for them to come out. So we really pride ourselves on being able to provide that, the windshield or whatever auto glass service we're providing plus the calibration. And so people are evolving. More shops are starting to do calibrations, but I just feel like we've been doing it for years, and we're probably way ahead of
Okay.
most of the competition as far as our knowledge and our services that we provide in that category. So, but yeah, I mean, the calibration machines, they're expensive. You have to not only train, but you got to keep people up to date as
Right.
new ADAS equipment is released into the
Right.
marketplace. And you got to have quality control too. So just those things alone, I would say,
Right.
is definitely a barrier. Yeah.
Are some of those make specific, right? Like we've had some Jaguars and some other things that uh, seem to be a little bit special and have to have different sort of calibration, special equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's multiple different categories of calibrations. There's static, dynamic, dual, and they all require a slightly different process.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
yeah, just to touch upon that a little bit more, I mean, if you're calibrating a Honda, like the specs are going to be different than if you're calibrating a Toyota, for example. Like the target placement's going to be different. So because the ultimate goal with calibrations is to make sure that our drivers are safe on the road. And the only way that we can ensure their safety is if that car is calibrated correctly. And it's super important. I mean, you really have to have confidence in the person that's, realigning and recalibrating your the safety systems that you're relying on to keep you safe on the road. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuances and variances with calibrations. So just another reason why we just really, really, really stay on top of exactly what's going on in the market.
Yeah, the safety systems have now are very impressive. It reminds me back in the day. Oh gosh, I was on the Autobahn. I was riding a passenger bus in Germany, and they have strict, they've always had strict drunk driving sort of rules in Europe. Although the bus driver was selling alcohol from the front of the bus. he had a cooler in the front, but that's not what was particularly egregious. What was is this was decades ago now, but he was watching a TV while driving a bus. He had a TV up front. So yeah, anyway, I've been in a number of countries where I've been in Mexico where somebody had something like that. A taxi driver had one, and now people have their phones, and it's very easy to be distracted for sure. But just texting, much less watching your favorite soap opera. But
that's quite a scene. Imagining that a bus driver selling alcohol and also watching TV while driving. That's
right.
That's kind
of on the Autobahn, right? Yeah. I think I was 15. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, well, it just goes to prove how important those advanced driver assistance systems are these days. Because you're 100% right. There's so many people that are, watching Netflix and YouTube and TikToks and all that, like while they're driving. So it is super important.
Yeah, it's scary. Okay, so goals for the company. Let's start just to bookend that question about goals for the company. What was sort of the expansion we mentioned earlier about other markets you're hoping to get in? Is this like a 2025 goal, maybe?
Yeah. So we've actually, with some of those, we actually have some partnerships that are already connected into, different kind of like dealership services.
Okay.
And so, basically our first focus is going to be doing more of what we're already doing in the marketplaces that we're already in. So we still have a ton of room for growth, not only in Arizona, but also in Florida and South Carolina. So we definitely have a lot more work to do there. I mean, none of us are satisfied with the amount of business that we're doing there. So, first and foremost, we're going to increase the three main sales channels that we utilize right now in those places. But
your existing footprints. Okay.
Exactly. And I think that ultimately, probably down the road, I know I said maybe Q3 or Q4 of this year, but that might be a little bit ambitious because I'm not sure, it's really going to be up to us as far as fast as we run with expanding in our existing marketplaces. But I just feel like once the time is right, we will probably take exactly what we're doing and look at other markets because there are, there's several other insurance friendly states that actually, they either fully pay for the insurance customer's windshield if it's broken, depending on the type of insurance you have. And there's also other states too. There's states that don't do anything really for windshields or auto glass in general, but then there's also other states where they have a deductible, right? So at least it's cost effective for the consumer to replace their windshield, especially now, with the cost of calibrating a vehicle. It's not super cheap. Like I mentioned, those machines are expensive. It's constantly changing. So you got to reinvest into new, not only machines, but, programming, getting
training,
the software updated. Yeah. And plus all the training that has to happen to all the technicians. I mean, we have a lot of technicians between the three states. So it's definitely not something that's cheap to do, especially when you do it right. We do our best to do the absolute best that we can when it comes.
It takes time, and man hours are not cheap nowadays.
Absolutely, 100%. Um, so, anyway, like my point of bringing that up is that, since we're already operating in insurance friendly states, we know
Right.
those markets really well. We know that model. So it would make sense to continue, but, don't get me wrong. We absolutely plan on, growing into other markets too that are not insurance friendly states. So, I think once we expand quite a bit more in our current marketplaces, we'll really take a harder look. But we just have so much work to
Okay.
do in our current
Okay.
markets that's a little bit of a
Sure.
future, a
We have a
future.
lot of employees. It sounds like you're scaling the systems properly to be able to support that sort of growth. So it sounds like you're in a good place.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we like I said earlier, we got incredible people in high leadership positions. We have we do have quite a few employees globally. So yeah, no, we've really done a good job of building up pretty tight systems, people and processes over the last 7 years, and that I think that absolutely is probably the ultimate difference maker between us and some of the other smaller shops out
okay.
there.
Okay. We've talked a lot about windshields in this call, but there are other windows on the vehicle. What
Yeah.
percentage of replacements and repairs are windshield compared to the rest of the car?
Um, yeah, I mean it's overwhelmingly the majority. I mean it's probably it's above 90%.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it makes sense, right? Because when you're
Oh
driving
yeah.
down the road, debris flies up, it hits the windshield. But, of course, like we've seen it all at this point, right? Like we've seen, bullet holes in back glass. We've seen, someone that took a bat to the back of the rear windshield in the back of the car. So obviously, that stuff does happen for sure. But the huge majority of the replacements and repairs that we do is for the
Okay.
windshield.
Okay. Okay. And I believe we talked before that we started the interview that you source a lot of your material through Arizona. Is that right? Is that where you store it, or how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, no, great question. So we actually we import our glass, right? So we have a giant warehouse in Arizona, and it's really great because not only do we provide services for people that have insurance, but we also provide services for the people that don't have insurance as well, that are just paying out of pocket for their their replacement services. So we're actually able to pass on we only buy the best quality premium glass that's like super well tested to calibrate, and we have a very strict criteria that we run our glass through before we decide to purchase it. And it's great because we're actually we can pass along some of those savings to our customers by buying the glass in bulk, importing it and warehousing it ourselves, as opposed to using a third party supplier to do that, because obviously the premium on the glass price goes up when you're using a
Okay.
third party. So in Arizona, we have a very big warehouse where we have tens of thousands of pieces of glass in there. And
Wow.
then we also, yeah, same in Florida. Now in Arizona, we basically, because of the Phoenix Valley and the geography of it, we're actually able to just have one warehouse and have our installers meet there, get the glass, inspect it, and then head out for their day. In Florida, it's a little bit more complicated because we service Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami, West Palm Beach, along with other markets as well, that are just all spread out over the state. So in Florida, the operation is a little bit different. We house our glass in our Orlando warehouse, which is just a massive hub for us. And then we transport the glass out every night to the other marketplaces and then store it in a much smaller warehouse for the technicians to pick it up the next day. So
Okay.
slightly different. I mean, it's a little bit, once we got into importing our glass, like logistics became a thing, and, all these other problems that we've had to learn about, solve, and it's been running very smoothly. But it wasn't without its difficulties at first, because
Sure.
it was a pretty big bold move to do that.
And does that make you a supplier for other groups as well? Because you
You
have
know,
that stockpile?
Yeah, we've discussed it in the past, but for right now, we're just supplying our own glass. So we
Okay.
we just we buy it, we use it ourselves, and that's it. There's a lot of competition out there with the main glass suppliers that do what we're doing, but at a much bigger scale, and then they distribute that to the smaller glass shops. So it's something that we're looking into, but we haven't decided to go down that route yet.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Well, it sounds like things are going great for you in the business, and I assume you weathered COVID pretty well.
Yeah, COVID was actually really interesting for us. We didn't experience huge growth, or luckily we didn't really have to like downsize too much at all. I mean, our sales remained consistent, and I think the reason for that, even though, I mean, because you remember people were not driving around that much at that time.
Right.
And so you would think it would have a highly negative impact on our business. But what I think happened is that people were at home, they had all this extra time, and they were like catching up on stuff that they had been putting off.
Right. Right.
Plus, obviously, with the incentives, especially in Arizona, of getting some, cash back for doing their replacement. I mean, I think those two things combined of like, making easy money to do something that they already needed to do.
Right.
It was just luckily for us. I think this business is pretty recession proof and global disease proof, like with COVID. Because no matter what, despite how many people are on the roads, I mean, glass is always getting damaged out there. So we were very fortunate during COVID.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, business goals aside, how about you personally? How are you personally projecting the prosperity forward? Do you have any particular investments, your favorite or your least favorite?
Yeah,
you talked a little bit about real estate earlier.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's hard to pinpoint exactly, but I think I'm a firm believer in real estate. So I love investing into the yes sir. I love investing into the real estate markets. I think that's one of the most secure investments that you can make. Obviously you got to pick the right building and everything, but people more now than ever, especially millennials. I mean, they're wanting to rent and not necessarily buy. So I think that's a very strong place. Plus, I mean, it's hard to get mad at the monthly cash flow from the rents, right? I think a couple other sectors that I'm interested in learning about a little bit more is definitely AI, and where that's going in such a short amount of time has just really been mind blowing. So AI, e-commerce is another one, just because I think that's an industry that's just going to continue to explode over the upcoming years. So
Right.
but the thing is that I'm just for me personally, I look at that stuff as strictly an investor because I really love what I do with New Vision Auto Glass, and
Right.
I just want to keep 100% focus on everything that we've built over the last 7 years, and continue to grow that. And because it really is, it's a lot of fun, and it's great to be able to not only increase the volume but also just work on increasing the customer experience and just really separating ourselves from the pack. So as an investor, I think those three sectors are really exciting. But as far as my time commitments for working, definitely going to be with New Vision.
Yes, for sure. That's a common thing I hear from my investors as well. They get a better return on their time focusing on what they're good at, and they'd prefer to just get their money to work with some people who know what they're doing and leave it at that.
Exactly.
Time is very valuable.
Yeah. The older that I get, the more I realize that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Brett. If anybody would like to learn more, connect with you, what can they do?
Yeah, so you can just go to Google, type in New Vision Auto Glass, which is NUVISION Auto Glass. You can also visit our website at newvisionautoglass.com. We got a Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're all over the place, so we're pretty easy to find. But that would be the best thing to do, I think. And you can probably just voice search too, New Vision Auto Glass, and we'll pop up there too.
Right. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Brett Jones, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and insights into success and impact in windshields in particular here in Phoenix and Florida and elsewhere. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.